Hello, I'm here to show you the different problems with the import function in iClone 7 and iClone 8. So the asset I've chosen here is a Walter PPK. For those of you who are not gun fans, I'm sorry, but this is the last asset that I made, and it is James Bond's first weapon, so, you have to give that a little leeway. So I've made this asset in Blender. Blender, as most people know, is a well-known software, 3D editing software used by lots of people because it's free, it's very powerful, it has plugin support and scripting support. So it's not like I made this asset in some obscure program, it's Blender. Okay, so we have the asset here. It uses various features like bump maps, metallic, roughness, material, all of that stuff. We can see if we rotate this, we've got both sides. We've got the opening up there. We can see that our barrel is actually concave. We can actually see down the barrel, it's not solid. Similarly, the pin at the end has the loophole in it, and so on and so forth. So that's what it looks like in Blender. Now we're going to take this first into iClone 6 and see what happens. Did I say iClone 6? I meant iClone 7 and iClone 8. So here we've loaded it in iClone 7. I've gone through the 3D exchange process to get it into iClone, and here is the result. Initially, it doesn't look too bad. Most of the stuff is there, but when we start to analyze the details, it's obvious that the import is not good. The one thing I will note is the bump map looks actually really good. I don't know if this is due to feature in iClone 7 or if it's just rendering at a lower lower number of levels, but in the Blender version, I didn't quite clean up the bump map, so you saw kind of a little bit of scratches on the bump map. And here in Blender, here in iClone 7, it's pretty well all gone. So I don't know if there's some kind of a threshold that it uses to clean that up, but that part looks nice. But we can immediately see a problem. If I zoom in over here, we can see that the pin came through, looks a little distorted and completely missing the inner part, the gap in the center. Now that gap was a mesh level gap, not a opacity texture, so it should have been there. I have absolutely no idea why it is missing. It seems to me that means the importer isn't taking in the specified faces correctly, because typically a OBJ or a FBX file will have the points and then the faces indicating which points it's using. So unless it's trying to do some kind of face optimization where it's trying to optimize them and reduce the number of faces, there should be no reason why it should eliminate a hole. But we see that happening over and over again. If I zoom back out and I go look at the barrel, so we can see that the barrel is completely capped. In the Blender version, we were able to see right down that whole barrel, and here it is capped. Now it could be this rim, so I can move that rim out of the way. What is that top rim? And we can see that actually both of them are capped. Both that rim around the barrel and the barrel itself, both of those are solid. And then we can also see on the back here, on the Blender version, there was that oval type cutout, and the pin or whatever that is, I have no idea. I'm not knowledgeable with what all the parts of the Walther PPK gun are. But anyways, we can see that it looks like that oval shape is there, but again, some kind of a incorrectly rendered face is covering it. The pin or whatever that is also there, but same thing. There's a face that seems to be covering up a portion of it, and it should actually be dipping down into this bottom portion, and that is completely missing. So it's the import process is definitely making mesh level issues. The materials, when I imported in 3D Exchange, it basically just had the diffuse material there, so I needed to re-add the bump, metallic, and roughness. That may not be a iClone 3D Exchange issue. I don't know if the FBX that I exported to actually embeds those textures in there. I know it does the diffuse, but I don't know about the other ones, so that I'm not so concerned about. It wasn't that big a deal to re-add them once I had them in iClone here, and the textures seem to be working fairly well, but the mesh import is still a issue. So now let's have a look at iClone 8 and see if they've resolved these kind of issues. Okay, and here we have opened it up in iClone 8. This is the trial version. I have opened it up, and again, the bump map looks good. All of that is showing up nicely, but we seem to have very much the same type of problems. We can immediately see that when we zoom in on the pin there, again, looks a little deformed here, and there is the lack of the center mesh, exactly what we had in iClone 7. So it looks like that problem still persists and it has not been fixed. And let's go have a look at the barrel. So once again, we can see that the barrel is apparently solid. There is, you can't look down the barrel. It seems to be blocked. And if we take it all the way to the other side, so we can see we have a similar rendering. It looks like it's a tiny bit better. We're actually seeing the bottom part of that oval. The top part of that oval almost looks good, but there's definitely some odd faces being rendered there. The pin looks like it could be okay, but again, On the end of the pin, we got a very similar problem like last time, covering that, and there's something stretching across the opening there. So that is not rendering at all correctly. So it looks like the exact same problems, or very similar problems that they had in iClone 7 3D Exchange are still persistent in iClone 8. They haven't fixed those. I don't think they're planning on fixing them in 3D Exchange 7 Pro, and who knows if they're planning on fixing those in iClone 8. And once again, I want to stress here that I'm using Blender software to create these meshes. Blender is a very standard 3D editing software, so it's nothing special, nothing exceptional. And within Blender, I'm using very ordinary functionality. All I've got is a diffuse map, a metallic map, roughness map, and okay, yes, I'm old school, so I'm using a bump map with a conversion to a normal. So there's nothing, no fancy plugins, nothing like that. It should be making a standard mesh, yet even a simple cylinder, it looks like iClone has problems rendering. So yeah, there you go.